Welcome to this devotional explainer. We're skipping the fluff today and diving straight into the Bible. We're going to look at a story that completely redefines the limitless bounds of God's grace. So let's jump right in, because this isn't just ancient history. It's literally a mirror for our own lives. Let me ask you something. Are you too bad to be saved? Or, hey, maybe on the flip side, do you secretly feel like you're too good to truly need saving? We all do this, right? We build up these mental barriers, kind of deciding for ourselves who is and who absolutely isn't within reach of God's grace. But as you'll see, the Bible completely shatters that scale. Section 1. Too bad to be saved? Let's talk about Saul of Tarsus. Now, if there was ever a poster child for being way beyond redemption, it was Saul. At his very core, the guy was a fundamentally angry man, just filled with this violent zeal. But here's the thing. This wasn't some rogue back alley anger. No, his mission was officially sanctioned by the religious elite of the day, the Sadducees. He actually had the official paperwork to back up all his hostility. Let's read directly from the Bible for a second. Looking at Acts chapter 9, verse 1, it says, "But Saul still breathing threats and murder against the disciples of the Lord." I mean, just sit with that kind of language for a second. Breathing threats and murder. This really highlights the sheer, terrifying intensity of his rebellion. For Saul, persecuting the early church wasn't just a 9-to-5 job. It was literally the air in his lungs. Moving to section 2. The road to Damascus, a divine interruption. So picture this, right when Saul is at the absolute peak of his power, approaching Damascus with his letters of authority, boom, a blinding light from heaven just flashes all around him. He drops straight to the ground, and the immediate fallout of this encounter? Well, for 3 straight days, he is left completely without sight, not eating, not drinking. The Bible is showing us right here exactly how fast God can flip a person's world totally upside down. And this brilliantly illustrates the real heart of the encounter. Out of that blinding light comes a voice. "Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me?" Naturally, Saul asks, "Who's speaking?" And the response is, "I am Jesus, whom you are persecuting." Okay, the crucial takeaway here is this incredibly deep personal confrontation. Jesus is making it crystal clear to him. When you attack my people, when you persecute the church, you are actually persecuting me directly. But honestly, why would God mess with Saul like this? There's an old saying, you do not embarrass those you are depending on. Leaving this proud, powerful guy blind and helpless on the side of the road, having to be literally led by the hand into the city, that is profoundly humbling. Yet it reveals this absolutely shocking truth about God's grace. God chooses these unlikely, even antagonistic vessels and strips away all their pride just so they can truly depend on him. Which leads us nicely into section 3, the reluctant servant, Ananias. Every great redemption story needs a catalyst. And right here, we meet a brilliant, totally unsung hero. And wow, the contrast is stark. On one side, you've got Saul, once breathing threats, now blinded and praying intensely. And on the other side, you have Ananias. He's a faithful disciple called by this incredibly detailed vision, completely terrified of this guy, yet he ultimately chooses quiet obedience. And honestly, you really can't blame Ananias for hesitating here. In Acts 9:13, he actually pushes back. He says, "Lord, I have heard from many about this man, how much evil he has done to your saints at Jerusalem." I mean, Ananias knows the facts. He knows Saul has the literal authority from the chief priests to bind believers. Let's be real, from a strictly human perspective, walking into a room with Saul of Tarsus sounds like a straight-up death wish. Section 4, a chosen instrument, flipping the narrative. But the Lord tells Ananias to go anyway, saying in verse 15, "He is a chosen instrument of mine to carry my name before the Gentiles and kings and the children of Israel." Talk about completely flipping the script. He goes from the ultimate persecutor to God's chosen instrument. But the Bible also pairs this massive calling with a pretty sobering reality. God is going to show Saul just how much he must suffer for his name. So despite his fear, Ananias obeys. And we see these incredibly powerful steps of restoration play out. Ananias walks right into the house. He lays his hands on the very man who came to town to arrest him. And what does he call him? Brother Saul. I mean, the amount of grace packed into those 2 words is just staggering. Ananias fully embraces his enemy. And immediately, something like scales fall from Saul's eyes. His sight comes back, and he gets right up to be baptized. This brings us to our final section, number 5, your role in the story, being an Ananias. You know, it's so easy to look at the Apostle Paul and just marvel at his huge transformation. But for a minute, let's shift our focus to the immense power of being a supporting character. Because here's a wild thought. Some incredibly important people just fade from the scene quickly after their obedience. Ananias simply obeys God, restores Saul, and then he steps back into the shadows. It's such a profound lesson in true humility for all of us. This brilliantly illustrates what I like to call the chain reaction of faith. Think about it. Ananias laid hands on Saul. Saul then became the Apostle Paul, who went on to write half the New Testament. Fast forward through history, you have evangelist Mordecai Ham preaching a sermon, and a young Billy Graham gives his life to Jesus. The point is, our unsung, seemingly tiny acts of faithful obedience can genuinely spark a world-changing chain reaction. We always have to remember why we're reading these stories in the first place. The goal of studying the Bible isn't just to gather up some historical trivia or to let complex theology confuse us. No, the true goal, as we've seen in this explainer today, is to actively increase in faith, to grow our knowledge, and to actually get out there and serve the Lord in our day-to-day lives. So I'm going to leave you with this final, pretty provocative thought. Who will you be an Ananias to? Seriously, who is that difficult, unlikely person in your life that God might be calling you to reach out to and call brother or sister? Go ahead and step out in faith. You absolutely never know whose redemptive arc you might be the bridge for. Keep seeking, keep serving, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.